IUFRO, the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, is the global network for forest science. The core activity of the Science Policy Program is to consolidate scientific information related to forests and to provide it to political forums on forest-related matters. Our recent study investigates the different aspects of international forest governance, and it will be launched at the next session of the UNFF in May 2024.
In 2010, IUFRO published a global study on this topic. A main take of that study is that international forest governance is a very complex topic. And the idea is that in the years that have passed, this complexity has only increased. What we wanted to do with this new study is to understand in which direction things have been moving and to try to find how the interactions between the new arrangements and the new actors have been playing.
My chapter is about, critiques of international forest governance, and there has been lots of critiques in the last decades about international forest governance. And the second part of it is about alternative governance forms. So what could be other solutions for governance?
We look at a number of issues around what are the interests involved, who has been involved in shaping international forest governance, whose voices are included, whose voices are not heard. We also take a multi-scale approach. So we look at how international and regional policies are created, and then how they're, you could call it, translated at national levels and all the way down to the local and landscape level. What does this really mean on the ground for communities and forests?
Since the Rio Convention up to now, a lot of different international initiatives were developed aiming to address different issues regarding forest management and forest conservation from an international level, trying to regulate how it's happening at the domestic level. And this has been evolving since the Rio Convention up to now, and many different initiatives from many different sectors with many different aims are being developed basically constantly.
We appraise the forest finance landscape, which means we are looking at sources of finance, from where is finance actually coming from. We look at objectives of finance, for what? And then, of course, the central question, and that is again this critical political economy perspective we are taking, is that we ask whose interests are served with these models of forest finance. Is there actually a risk that we overlook the underlying political economy conditions that actually then hinder change, and the change that this finance is promising to everybody for a green and sustainable agenda?
My chapter is about forest-related discourses, and it's important to know more about forest-related discourses because they give us guidance on how to govern forests. We found that these forest discourses became much more diversified, surprisingly in different ways than we thought they would, and also new forest discourses appeared.
Forests are framed differently when you look at them from different perspectives. So if you think about climate change and forests, then forests are framed as carbon sinks. If you look at them from a more economic perspective, then you see them as resources or as sources for energy. And this has also an enormous importance on which governance mechanisms you choose and how you want to regulate forests.
I think the important thing with this report is to learn from the many, actually decades, but in particular, what are the last 10 years telling us about what does and doesn't work, however we define that, for international forest governance.